Today I'm going to be focusing on the social informatics impacts on autonomous cars and how they're affecting us and how certain changes and things can occur with it. So today we're driving a lot more. In fact, all around the world it's increasing every day. I know especially over in China, they're driving a lot more themselves. So with that, it's like cars have definitely improved our lives over the years. I mean, imagine how cars have added these improvements. How it takes us, allows us to travel to our jobs, see our friends, our loved ones. It's made travel possible to get anywhere in, just around the states or even around countries or other places in the world. Cars and, even other forms of travel just simplified and made our lives much easier, made it easier for the functions of our daily lives. So imagine that we actually take this and we take it to a whole new level where we didn't have to worry about driving ourselves. That's where autonomous cars comes in. So self-driving cars. This is going to be a new form. It's something that's already been in development, something that's being worked on by Google, Uber, and several other car companies out there, or just other, obviously with Google, it's not a car company, but other companies are just developing this more and more. Uses essential. So the uses essential. So it uses an essential mobile networking, and this is what allows the vehicles to actually coordinate its movements and be able to communicate. It's going to allow it to communicate with other vehicles and to be able to use this data to move around from location to location. Um, Also, with in the future, try to imagine that if you need a ride, you're going to be using an application on your phone or whatever devices are big at the time, and this is what you're going to use to actually call a vehicle whenever you need a ride. And within, even minutes, a vehicle will arrive and take you to your destination. And then when it drops you off, it will just continue on its course and be able to be used by other individuals to pick them up and take them wherever they need to. And because of this, this is actually going to decrease the need for parking and be able to free up spaces for other uses, such as more space for everyone to be able to just move around in cities or other places. Uh, the lack of need for parking garages to be able to put up new structures. So this comes to the ethical side of it. So when it comes down to this, we all know who is responsible, obviously, whenever a wreck happens, whenever someone's actually driving. But what about who is actually responsible for where these vehicles end up getting an accident, because of reasons of their own? I mean, who does it come down to when something happens? With this, I mean, new rules going to have to be put in place. Is this what's going to happen? Are we going to have, I mean, what about when someone hacks the vehicles? With a quote from Patrick Lynn, human drivers may be forgiven for making an instinctive but nonetheless bad split second decision, such as swerving into oncoming traffic rather than the other way into a field. But programmers and designers of automated cars don't have that luxury, since they do have the time to get it right, and therefore bear more responsibility for bad outcomes. And because of this, I view that having autonomous cars is going to actually decrease because it's going to have to be programmed to be more alert and be able to make those instantaneous decisions to be able to prevent these incidents. And on top of this, something that I didn't know in the presentation, but is actually the insurance companies themselves are actually looking forward to this because it's going to make it safer and it's actually going to cut costs for them. So with this, how's it going to affect the job market? There's obviously going to be some displacement, but obviously there's going to be some new jobs created. So big name companies will not have to produce vehicles like they used to. There's going to be obvious changes with how things are made and how they're produced and who they're produced for. Standards on these vehicles will limit how many will need to be made, And in this sense, it's more so, we don't have to have so many variations of vehicles, and there's going to become more of a standard in the market, and is going to change how things are made and how many different pieces and such with standards, and how the vehicles themselves may not need as many factories to produce certain parts. And this is also going to affect not just these kind of workers, it's also going to affect in big cities, especially with taxi drivers or even the new Uber drivers today. I mean, this is going to cut out, work for taxi drivers that have been using this for a living and be able to live off of this for years, because we'll no longer actually need an individual to drive these cars, because the taxi drivers themselves will just be the cars driving themselves on their own. And this is either going to hurt the job market or create a whole new market altogether. And with the chart here as you can see on the right, shows a few ideas of jobs that may be displaced. It shows, obviously taxi drivers are going to be taking the big hit because this is their job. Cars are their jobs. Public transit workers, delivery people for large goods or small goods, parking attendants, police. I mean, a lot of these are going to be cut down because we're just not going to need a lot of these because of the autonomous cars. But on the other side, it's going to actually create jobs in the market. Autonomous car designs, development, help programmers that need to program these. New infrastructure for the autonomous cars, for the freeways, how they're going to have to change up signs, how they're going to have to change everything up. Uh, it's obviously going to be a new market, and it's going to be a lot of changes over the next coming. And I'm going to guess probably in the next 5 to 10 years we're going to start seeing a lot of these start pushing out. So the technology itself, the cars will be controlled completely by a wireless network, and how they will be handled. So how are they going to actually handle this, when hackers end up hacking the vehicles themselves? I mean, this is something that, especially on the social informatics side, I mean, this is something we got to keep in mind, something that we need to research and do some look into. Uh, Especially with, trying to make sure that programmers and the companies themselves make that they don't cut corners, and that they actually make sure these cars are fully tested and make sure that there's minimal chance of hackers taking control of them. This is going to be something that, since it's so new, and if we want to make sure it pushes forward, you can't really have loopholes cut, even if companies are going to try to attempt them. There was a statement that was made by it was either a congressman or an individual that he's noticed that there is actually lax testing in some of the current vehicle iterations that are being worked on right now. And with this, I feel that regulations and new policies are going to have to become either stricter or just be able to put out these policies or laws to be able to make sure that we have a safer and a better transition, to make sure that companies don't cut around uh, these loopholes, and make sure they have stringent codes to make sure that we keep a safe market and such. So with this, in conclusion, this is the future. It's coming. It's not slowing down. It's not stopping. It's something that's being worked on right now. And even today, there may be cars that you don't notice that actually are self-driving cars. Maybe not in small towns, but some of the big cities being tested throughout the United States and the world. And with this, you can also talked about how, it's going to affect the job markets. And it's something that, we're just going to have to evolve with it. We're going to have to learn. We're going to have to figure out how we can become creative with it, be able to find ways to work with it and create new jobs. And policies and regulations are going to need to be changed. They're going to be added. There's going to have lawmakers, companies, states. There's going to be all kinds of things that's going to have to be added, changed, manipulated to ensure the safety of the vehicles, and for anything that's going to happen that's kind of beyond our reach right now with what current policies are in place. So, as I stated there will be new challenges during this whole process. And it's something that we're all going to need to work together. There's going to be lots of studies that needs to be done. it's just going to be a learning curve that we're just going to have to try to work with.